I want to see if I can push my song Dreaming to new levels without relying on the typical way that I program music with Facebook ads. Now, my song Dreaming came out a year and a half ago, June 2020. It already has 175,000 streams. It's been on 2 editorial playlists, and it had its own Facebook ad campaign. So the song generally was a success, and I'm really proud of it. But I really want to see if I can do like a deep dive experiment into promoting the song a year and a half into its life using Submit Hub and Playlist Push and report on all the results in this video. Now, this is going to be kind of tricky, and there's kind of a lot at stake here because I've used these methods in the past, and I found that even if they work, the data that you get from them, you might get a lot of streams, but the quality of the people who listen to music isn't nearly as high as when you're using Facebook ads. And obviously, you have to figure out like what playlists I'm going to be submitting to, what types of things I'm going to be promoting on those platforms, how much money I wanted to put into each one. But I could spend a lot of money and essentially have nothing to show for it. So I'm hoping at the very least this will be an educational experiment for you to see how this works. So let's jump over to Playlist Push. I think I'm going to start there because they actually have like a submission process, although they seem to accept everything. But we're going to jump over here first, and I'm going to choose Spotify Playlists. Now I need to grab my song link over here, and we're just going to put in that thing. Next, Dreaming, I do Southworth. Do I need to upload the track? All right, so I just uploaded the track. I got my Instagram, language, my artist hometown, and we're going to create the campaign. So let's see if they still do that submission requirement thing. Oh, the track was already selected. All right, I guess they used to have you apply and then get back to you in 24 hours. There's a whole bunch of tutorial stuff. I have used this in the past, and I had horrible things to say about it. So I'm giving it another try here, obviously, and hopefully this will be different. The way that it works is you have to list some artists that you think the song is similar to. This song is like the most future bassy song I've ever done. The vocals are probably a little more unique than what you typically find in that, but I think going with that direction would be the most promising thing. So I'm adding Millennium. I'm going to add 7 Lions, Inside the Sky, Zan Griffin. I actually talked to Zan Griffin in an interview video on this channel, by the way. He's a cool guy. I think San Holo would be a reasonable target to use. Because he has like guitars in his songs, his vocals a little more unique than a lot of other future bass, and this song is a little more unique in that way. I think Ekalai would also be good. And at this point, that's probably enough artists. It starts to give you a bunch of genres on the side, so now I have to comb through and figure out which one of these are bad. So like Bro Step, I think that's a little more like dubsteppy and less what I'm doing. I don't even know what Cat Step is. Future bass is definitely like perfect. Melodic dubstep is good. I'm going to remove electronic trap just to make sure I'm not adding in too much fluff here. Yeah, so that should be pretty solid. Now I'm going to do a search just for future bass to see if there's like another thing. Kawaii future bass, I don't know what that is. I don't think so. So I'm going to do save and continue, and let's see what they offer for this. Now the song is definitely English. Global mixed playlist I'm fine with, so we'll leave that on. If you do music in another language, obviously you would select that. And now we get to the money part, right? And so this is how expensive Playlist Push can be. So for $494, they're going to submit it to 60 playlists by 47 curators. So let's do some math. So if we divide $494 by 60 individual playlists, we're essentially paying $8 per playlist to pitch to. And this is why for a lot of people in the past, I've told people not to use Playlist Push just because it's so expensive. Because like on Submit Hub, you might pay $1, $2 to pitch to a curator, not even per the, like you're pitching to any of their playlists too. So I think it was actually, what was it, 47 curators had these playlists. So it's really like $10.50. So you're paying way more per submission on Playlist Push, but they're saving you some work. And obviously they might have different people on here than they have on Submit Hub. So yeah, that's why I haven't recommended it in the past. Now I do kind of want to hit this hard. I really want to give this a chance, and I want this to be an interesting video, so I'm willing to pony up some cash, but I don't think I'm willing to go up to $5,382. Like, that is just stupid. I'm not doing that. My channel does not make enough money in ad revenue to justify that. Even $1,000 is way too much. All right, so I have slid it around a little bit. I got it to $517, which I am willing to do for this video, so this should be a reasonable test for you, right? Like, the conclusion of this is like, if I spend $500 and I have very little to show for it, you know, you'll know like the cost of getting into this stuff because it can get very expensive. We're only doing 63 playlists, 49 curators. This is a decent push, but obviously it's really small on their end. So now we're in the review step. So you get to review your link. You get to look if any favorites you've had, if you run previous campaigns, like if you blocked any curators that have just never liked your music. Playlist genre and languages, English, global, chill stuff, future bass, pop, EDM. You can't change this after you submit it, so you're locked in once you pay this. Like if it's going horrible, you're kind of just screwed. So that's why it's good to think about this a bit ahead of time. Launch date, right now it's the 12th. So obviously you're watching this video later. The first date it can be available is the 14th, which is this Friday, a couple days. And the pricing summary, $523. I've read and accept the campaign refund policy. We're going to proceed to payment. All right, so the campaign's scheduled. I paid the $523. It's going to start in 2 days. Now, the way that the campaigns work is once you submit a song, curators have 2 weeks to review the song. Now, I'm also a curator on Playlist Push, which is why I know how this works. Like behind the scenes, I review other people's music, and because I have playlists that I do as well. So I'll probably be reviewing a bunch of people's music so that I can pay for this. But it runs for 2 weeks. So essentially, this video is going to be at least 2 weeks away from this, and I want to wait a little bit until I start the Submit Hub stuff because I want to try to have these promotions align in some way, but I also want to keep things trackable. So I'm going to be starting the Submit Hub stuff in a few days. All right, so it's been a few days. The campaign was going to go live on that Friday, and now it is the Monday following that Friday. It's Monday the 17th, just for reference. And we actually have some data coming in from Playlist Push already. Now, the way these campaigns work is they run for 14 days. So basically the deadline is in 11 more days. And we've already gotten some responses. This is actually going way better than my previous Playlist Push try, which was horrible, honestly. But it could have just been the song. You know, it's hard to tell with one data point. But so far we've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 replies. And we've gotten 4 playlist additions. So some of these playlists are pretty good, and some of them are questionable. So if I click on some of the stats here, like this playlist has 165,000 followers, and I'm on position 40, and they normally keep people on there for a month. So this is pretty solid volume. And I checked out the playlist. The music seems like it's not like this chaotic mishmash. It's pretty solid. This is a 9,000 follower playlist, but I'm on position 201, so I'm deep in the playlist. Future Bass Top 50. I was at it on number 1. They normally keep songs in there for 2 months, so obviously, like if I click on this, you can actually check out the playlist. I might not be number 1 anymore. I am, but it looks like they add music every few days, or maybe not. But so I might be high up on the playlist for a decent amount of time, which is pretty cool. So that's a solid grab. And then this one is 10,000. I'm position 38, which is pretty solid. It's a no copyright playlist. I never told them that my music was no copyright. I don't flag any music usage on YouTube. I don't use the content ID, so in this case it's fine. But I would imagine they can get into trouble with some other artists who don't authorize that usage. If a streamer got flagged or something and used their playlist, they'd probably be upset. But for me, it's fine, and it just seems to be a solid playlist. I'm a decent spot in it. So basically, we'll do another update later once this comes. But now I want to transition and start submitting now that this is getting some traction. Like 25% acceptance rate, 25% acceptance rate so far is pretty solid. So hopefully it continues. I think I had 65 total playlists. But now we're going to transition to Submit Hub. All right, now we're on Submit Hub. You might see a few extra buttons on here because I'm also a curator on Submit Hub. But I'll just give you a gist of how it works. I'm going to select curators, which is like playlisting and a few other things like YouTube channels and stuff. I'm just going to be focusing on Spotify here, though, Spotify playlist. I always say I care about feedback, even though I really kind of don't. Because, like, a lot of times it disagrees with other feedback. I don't really pay attention to it. I usually say they can monetize. It doesn't matter for playlisting. And I'm going to choose future based because that's probably the most accurate description what I could find for the song. I might do another genre thing, but this one's going to be specifically future based. Now, in this case, the way that I'm sorting stuff is I'm doing only recommended picks. I'm hiding outlets in weekend mode, which means they're not accepting things at the moment. I'm going to turn off SoundCloud, actually. And then what I did for approval rate is if a playlist approves less than 10% of their submissions, I don't want to target them because that just seems like a pipe dream, right? And it seems like you could try to do that. I just don't want to bother. And then high, 98. So I don't want to, if someone adds 98% of their things, I actually don't even really want it that high. Yeah, so when I changed it to 70, I lost one curator. In this case, I think 10 to 70% is fine. I just don't want people that accept everything, and I don't want people that accept nothing. And I'm only doing 1 credit submissions typically. If I change it to 2, it adds on a good amount. I'm going to start with just 1. You can see here my own curator account shows up on here as well. But I'm just going to do 1 credit things for now, at least. And some of these I've already submitted like other music to, and they've accepted it. So typically what I'd recommend for a lot of people, if you have the time, comb through their stats, go to their profile and like look at their playlists. You can see the average listeners, the average time that you'll be in the playlist, and you can see other stats like how often they approve stuff, how often they share songs as shout outs instead of full shares, like they send it to a smaller playlist instead of the one you're pitching to. So there's a lot of data you can comb through. What I'm going to do here, just because this for 25 curators is going to be $25, I'm just going to go over here, select all, and I need to grab more credits, so let me do that. All right, so we just added 100 credits, and now after this transaction, I'll have 79 left. So if I do another thing, I'll have plenty there. And I don't recommend you do this. I'm just kind of going with the spray and pray method. I'd rather spend extra money than waste a couple hours combing through everyone, making sure they're a perfect fit. So what I'm going to do is submit. And now I got to think of something clever to put here, which is going to be kind of tricky. But I think I'm going to go with this. I'm not the best at writing these, but hello, fellow curator. This is a pop/electronic, future-based inspired track about pursuing your dreams with reckless abandon. Submit. Go for it. I'm sure there's other things that I could have written better there, but I think that's decently solid. Taking advantage of the fact that I know what they're going through as a curator. And then also I'm referencing the story of the song and also mentioning the style of the song, so it kind of pre-frames them to know what they're getting into. And now we're going to essentially just wait again, and we'll be tagging up in a couple more days. All right, so the moment you're all been waiting for. It's been about 3 months since I started both of these campaigns. So right now we're going to go through all of the data. So if I share my screen, what I did is I looked at the playlist that added me from Playlist Push. I opened them up one by one, and I recorded the number of followers that playlist had, as well as the streams. And I did the same thing for Submit Hub, playlist by playlist. So it was a good amount of work. And I put it into this handy dandy spreadsheet that now we're going to comb through in detail. So if I zoom in a little bit more, we're going to look at the Playlist Push side first. So the Playlist Push campaign was $523, and these are the playlists that we get added to. Now I want to point out, all the playlists that have 11 streams, the reason why they're all 11 is because in Spotify have artists, it only shows the top 100 playlists for the song. So if I scroll all the way down to number 100, essentially, you can't see it right now, but you see it has 11. So when I say 11 on here, I'm essentially saying it has less than 11. But I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I'm just going to assume 11 for the sake of the numbers. It's basically 0. But I went through each of these playlists, and so what I did is I added them all up. So total, we get added to 8,554 worth of followers and playlists. I flipped that around. We got added to 260,000. 260,000. Good. Just wanted to make sure. I was like, what? 260,000 followers worth of playlists. We received about 8,500 streams from those playlists. And this is lifetime. This isn't past 28 days. This campaign is running for 3 months, so it's a several months long. Most of the playlists have been kicked out of. Some of them I'm still on. But basically 8,500 streams for this amount of money. So I could do some math with these numbers. If I divide those two, if basically dividing streams by followers, received 3.29% streams per follower. So pretty small, right? Like that's basically saying if a playlist has 100,000 followers, you're going to get roughly 3,300 streams. That's kind of what this number means. So obviously I calculated it per playlist here. So some playlists were really good. If they had, you were getting 50% the number of streams the playlist had followers. Like these 3 were pretty solid, but most of them were like single digits or less. So I don't know what's up with those playlists, if they're just completely dead or botted or whatever. And some of these, like this one here, I was added at slot number 1. Like I don't know how I got demoted. So that one doesn't make any sense. I only got 4% engagement. So this playlist must be pretty damn dead. Now this one I was added at slot like 200 plus, like 250 or something. This playlist has like 300 songs in it. So I can see why that one was almost nothing. This one had 166,000 followers. I only got 11 streams from it, and it was in slot 40. So this playlist is just absolute trash, basically, is what that's telling you. So you average all that data out, and you get to 3.3% streams per follower, and then cost per stream is about 6.1 cents per stream. So that's kind of a cool metric to know. So now we can flip over to the Submit Hub side and do a comparison. So in here, on Submit Hub, I only spent $34 and $34.40. The reason why it's such a weird number is because I used 43 credits, and I purchased credits at 100 credits at a time, which gives you a discount. So it cost me $80 for 100 credits, so it's 80 cents a credit. Do the math on that, it comes to $34.40. Same kind of math. Find out, add up all the followers of the playlist, get all the streams, and that's how we come to these two numbers. So 26,411 worth of followers, so significantly smaller by like a factor of 10 compared to playlist push. However, when you look at the streams, it's roughly 50% of this one, right? So on a stream per follower basis, Submit Hub was almost 15% compared to playlist pushes like 3.5%. So it's like almost 5 times better streams per follower. So that's an interesting data point, right? So like obviously this is averaging all these playlists, but to me this shows that you're actually like, in a term of playlist quality thing, you're much better off being on Submit Hub compared to playlist push. Now it doesn't stop there, because even though these numbers are smaller, I only spent $35 basically. So the cost per stream was less than a penny. It was 0.9 cents compared to playlist pushes 6.1 cents. So that's like a factor of 6 or 7 difference in price. So like essentially playlist push on a per stream basis is 7 times more expensive than playlist push. Based on these numbers that I've just found, playlist push on a per stream basis is roughly 7 times more expensive than Submit Hub, based on this singular test. So that's kind of a big deal, right? This is why a lot of times I recommend artists use Submit Hub instead of playlist push, because of that difference. So now let's average this data. Total cost for these two campaigns, $557, like 90% of that is playlist push. Total streams, 12,473. Average cost per stream between the two is 4.5 cents per stream. You can look at the last 12 months. I started doing this stuff roughly January 12th. So you can definitely see, like, over these last 3 months, there's been an increase. Now, there's this big spike here. This is almost definitely Discover Weekly. Now, the song's already been in Discover Weekly basically this whole time. Like, all these random little Monday spikes, even though some of them are quite small, are Discover Weekly. This stuff here is mostly just playlisting, but this was a Discover Weekly boost. So I would estimate, this is 142, this is 500, so like an extra 1,000, 2,000. Maybe I've got an extra 2,500 streams from algorithmic playlists. So essentially what we could do is we could say that, well, we didn't really gain 12,500 streams. We really gained like 14,000 streams from this because we get a little bit extra for free from Discover Weekly. But I think my final conclusion for all this stuff is based on this. Like, if I spent $557 on a Facebook ad campaign, I would expect a lot more streams than this, like a good amount more. I mean, like, there's some songs that I've ran, like on my catalog, like one of my worst performing songs ever was Undone. This campaign I spent 1,000 and I've gotten 34,000 streams. Obviously it's over a bigger period of time, but this is my worst one of my worst campaigns ever. I think the actual worst one was this one, which was also about 1,000. But these are flukes, right? Like, these are the worst of the worst that I've ever done. Songs like Life is Short, I think, had like a $750 budget, and it's gotten 172,000 streams and a lot more algorithmic traction. So like the campaign was like maybe 750 to 1,000 here, and I've promoted a little bit since, but nothing substantial. And it's got like over 10 times more streams and a lot of algorithmic traction compared to that. So but I don't want to say don't use playlisting, because like on a per stream basis, playlisting can be quite cheap, especially in the case of Submit Hub. 0.9 cents per stream. That's like only 2 or 3 times more expensive than what you actually get back in royalties, which mean that if you trip some algorithmic stuff with playlists on Submit Hub, you can actually relatively easily have a profitable campaign, which is interesting. I didn't expect that as a result. But I think the biggest conclusion of this is don't use playlist push, and I don't want to like start a war with them because they seem like they're great people over there. And it's at the end of the day, it's just individual curators, right? But this math is saying like, if you're on a budget, don't use playlist push, use Submit Hub instead. It's a much better value. The benefit of something like playlist push is that if you have a giant budget, it's much easier to just be like, here's my genre, here's my money, go figure it out. Whereas Submit Hub, you're going through a little bit more diligently picking your playlists. But even still, I kind of blindly picked these playlists. I didn't vet them very much, and it turned out substantially better. So another really interesting thing I want to point out is that the save rate of these playlisting campaigns were pretty rough, right? And this is kind of to be expected. Like this was the Discover Weekly push, so that's why the save rate was so high here. But like all of this was just the natural amount of saves my song's been getting from riding the Discover Weekly wave, ever since I promoted the song a while back. So not too much of an increase. Like this is single digit stuff here, right? So this, I've said a long time that playlisting has really bad save rates and playlist ad rates. Although a lot of these playlists, this is because of the playlist ads. But these are pretty much single digits. If you compare this to the listeners don't correlate with the playlist ad rate and the save rates like they do with Facebook ads. And on that same note, if I go to the song Sunrise, like I spent roughly $1,000 promoting the song. I haven't promoted it past like the first month it came out here. So from like here to there to like there or something, stopped it around here. It's still like it has 120,000 streams and it's gotten 17,000 in the past month. So this in the past month, this song alone, just on like recurring back end streams from what my promotion I ran 4 or 5 months ago, is getting more streams per month than the entirety of this $600 playlisting campaign I ran like 2 months ago. So that's kind of why I do so much with Facebook ads, right? Because the data doesn't lie. It does substantially better than these playlisting companies in general. I'm not saying they don't have a place, because they do have a place, but you shouldn't completely rely on them. So if you want to see how I actually run these campaigns, I have an entire playlist right here where you can see a whole bunch of examples and a whole bunch of knowledge on how I run these campaigns, set them up, and optimize them. And if I do have an organized course, if those videos aren't enough to satisfy your need, if you want a step-by-step thing, you can click that link down below and in the description. Anyways, thank you much for watching, and I'll see you next video. Bye.